Marley from the Energy Boutique with your energy and ascension forecast for Sunday, February 25th to Saturday, March 2nd. Okay, so last week was a doozy. We knew it would have been. We've been in this 2-week astrological energetic sandwich that I've talked very, very highly of and in depth of in a lot of my forecast over these last couple of weeks, in the Ascension forecast over these last couple of weeks, and of course in the Astro class that I just made public and available for everyone to take a listen to here on my YouTube channel. We're going to talk about that in just a second. But this last week included a shift out of Aquarius season into Pisces season. That took place on the 18th. We were already very much under the influence of the True Node and Chiron's conjunction at that particular point in time that technically came into exactness on the 19th. And of course, we've been sitting in that karmic upheaval, if you will, and we've definitely been seeing that closing out of chapter when Venus and Mars kind of wrapped up their last 2-year cycle and opened up the door to a new one here on the 22nd. Now, if you're with me Friday evening, first of all, I want to thank you so much for tuning in, for being live in the chat with me, with our lovely little community here. But here on the 23rd, we just had Mercury, ruler of the mental plane, ruler of information, communication, how it is that we express ourselves, move into Pisces energy. Now, we still have one major event left to go to wrap up February's astro energy here, and that would be tomorrow, the 24th, our full moon in Virgo energy. And of course, that is the very last full moon of this astrological calendar. And so we are in Pisces season. We're having the full moon in Virgo. The Pisces and Virgo axis is about healing. We have the Pisces energy doing the emotional and spiritual and karmic healing. We have the Virgo energy doing a number on the physical realm, the physical body on the mental plane. And so we're still very much building to that peak energy, and we are all up in the fields. And again, very, very high potent energy here this week, and for good reason. This is setting the tone on what it is that we're going to be diving into, the karmic chapters that we are going to be unpacking and experiencing as we move forward. And this is why the last 2 weeks of astrology has been very, very important to us. So this week, we don't have a lot going on. Now, there's a reason for that. After the last 2 weeks of just back-to-back astro events and electrical pop-offs and everything else and everything in between, we're going to need a little bit of time to simmer in that. We are essentially going through this very accelerated time warp, karmic warp, energy warp for the last 2 weeks, and now things are going to settle out. Once we have this full moon in Virgo energy, things are going to start to kind of dissipate a little bit. It's going to feel very weird because, again, we're coming out of an acceleration of time period. Things are going to slow down. Everybody's going to be like, what is going on? How come things are at a snail's pace? How come it feels like nothing's going on? Well, that's what happens when we go through back-to-back series of astrological events, especially the doozies that we just had, specifically Venus and Mars and the True Node and Chiron. Those are big deals. Those are like, well, not so much Venus and Mars because we do that every 2 years, but the True Node and the Chiron thing, like those are like lifetime type of energies. And so it's very important for us to have gone through this series, this pressurized system of acceleration, not only in our physical form, but our energetic form as well. We've been unpacking a lot of that karmic baggage. We are essentially repacking for this new journey, this new quest, this new mission that we are about to dive into and jump into when we move into the new astrological calendar that, of course, is coming at us towards the end of March with Aries season, with that equinox reset. And so this is going to be like the calm after the storm, so to speak. But there's also going to be a very interesting vibe because, of course, we're going to be closing out February, jumping into March, but this is a leap year. And not every leap year is super special, like astrologically or energetically, but I just have a feeling and this is just, me on the cray train, just have a feeling that this leap year, this leap day, the 29th specifically, is going to be an energetic day that allows people to make huge, huge leaps in their evolvement, in their ascension process, quantum leaping at its finest. Of course, we're going to have to wait and see about that. But just with the astrology that we've just experienced, and then, that last full moon in Virgo helping to purify us and kind of unpack some of that emotional and mental baggage, and then kind of, see these energies kind of settle down and sit stagnant, if you will, so that we can get a good view on what is coming, what is going, what is changing, what is up, what is down, what is in, what is out. We've had a washer machine of energies that we've just been thrown into. And now the washer machine is going to stop, and we're going to allow that water to kind of drain out. But as we're kind of sitting in this calmness that is very, I'm going to say, strange for us to be experiencing at this point, there's going to be a lot going on behind the scenes, as there always is as we move through Pisces season. And again, we ramp up for a new level of consciousness that I think many of us will be experiencing and will be observing as this leap year, this leap day throws us into a totally different section of the timeline that, again, we just locked in January 11th. So other than that, we will be building towards the fourth quarter or last quarter moon in Sagittarius energy that will be taking place on the 3rd of March. So we're not technically into it this week, but that's what we're building to. And of course, the time period between a full moon and the last quarter moon, it is a time to kind of reflect. It's a time to slow down. It's a time to kind of process what's going to stay, what's going to go. It is a time to really just kind of observe what is working, what isn't working, rest, recovery, realignment, recalibration, all of those things were in that chapter anyways, being in Pisces season. So we're just going to double down on the rest that is needed for our physical bodies so that our energetic bodies can do their thing. And of course, I know y'all know that our energetic bodies, our inner realms be popping while our physical bodies just in a state of paralysis for the most part. So we definitely have a different type of energy coming to us over the course of this next week. We are going to dive into it. We are going to talk about some of the ascension symptoms that will kind of accompany the slow down process as we realign, as we recalibrate. But first, I do have to check off a couple of things on my homework list. First of all, I just want to thank you. I want to thank you for being here. Thank you for liking, for sharing, for commenting, for dropping beautiful emojis in the comment section below, making this a very beautiful, cheerful, high vibe space to actually be in and scroll through. I want to thank those of you that have jumped over to my Patreon, showing some love and support over there. One thing I do have to mention is I want to thank those of you that did sign up for one of my YouTube membership tiers. You may have noticed that they are gone. I knew this was going to happen. I should have trusted my gut, but I didn't. And this is, another bad on me. I knew that opening those membership tiers were going to mess with my channel in not a good way. And I let it sit for, 2-3 weeks now. And the amount of, I'm going to say, not so nice things that have happened to my YouTube channel over the last couple of weeks of opening up those membership tiers, it's not worth it to me. People aren't seeing my content. They're not listening to the information. I've lost followers, even though I don't think that they're actual followers. I think they're just, YouTube kind of tweaking the numbers, if you will. Down on, the monetization. I do not believe that YouTube memberships are something that are good for people. Maybe it's just the topic and theme of my channel. I don't know. But it created absolute havoc on my channel, and therefore I removed them, I deleted them. So for those of you that did kind of sign up to those membership tiers, I thank you so much for the love and support. I really do appreciate it, but I had to remove those tiers. It's not worth it to, have this, I'm going to say, shadow effect on my channel, preventing people from reaching this information, this content. So I did remove those membership tiers. For those of you that still want to show your love and support in a monetarily type of way, I thank you so much for that. Please jump over to my Patreon to do that, or there is a PayPal link to send donations if you care to do that. Please do not think that I am asking anybody for money or for support in that way. Y'all's love, y'all's support in whichever way you want to give it is fine by me. It is totally appreciated by me. But there are some people that do frequently ask how they can send donations of whatever type of love that they want to send. And so that's why I kind of opened up the YouTube memberships, thinking that that would be an easy peasy way to do it. But nuh-uh, we ain't doing it. We're stepping back. We're reverting. So thank you for your patience, for your understanding on all of those particular changes. And again, thank you for the love and support in which you show my way, whichever way you choose to show it. A great way to show your love and support is by investing in yourself. And there's many ways to do that. We have the Pisces season e-guide that you could be downloading with all of the astro events that Pisces season has coming our way. It's an easy way to navigate these energy shifts and to stay in alignment with the energy shifts so that you can do the work and stay ahead of it and kind of roll with it instead of being dragged. There's also the full moon guide. You know, we have a full moon in Virgo coming at us. There's a moon guide out for that. If you want to do a deep dive into that, stay in alignment with the energies, do the shadow work. That's a great way to support me. It's a great way to support yourself. And of course, the full moon in Virgo is the last astro event that we have popping off here in February. If you want to take a listen to your zodiac forecast to understand where this is manifesting in your physical realm in your life, then that is an additional resource out there that not only could help me in the long run, but could help you as well. And so there are plenty of resources out there for you to be helping yourself. You should be making the investment in yourself. And of course, when you do so, you're helping me in the long run as well. So it is a mutual exchange of awesomeness. And I thank you so much for those of you that continue to do those particular activities and download all of the things and stay up and ahead of all the energies. Not only are you helping me, not only are you helping yourself, but you're helping the collective grow, evolve in our consciousness, in our energy, in our vibration. And that is very much needed at this point, and it is going to offer a perfect segue into my very first rant. So if you're ready, let's jump into it. What I want to talk about, not only was this week just a banging when it comes to the energy shifts, but we've seen some record-breaking solar flares pop off from the sun and absolutely set a brand new record for the solar cycle 25 that we're currently in. And there is a lot of talk about it because not only are us sensitive-ass people out here just absolutely suffocating under these energetic blasts, but of course we have seen cell service in a particular area of the world, also known as the USA. Cell service just kind of tanked. It absolutely just went kaput. And here's the thing. I had a couple of people on my Patreon ask me about my thoughts on this. Now, first of all, I'm a true believer that the solar flares pop off in correlation, in alignment with a lot of the astrological events that popped off. There is no doubt in my mind that Venus and Mars's conjunction aligned perfectly with the pop-offs of the solar flares coming off the sun that broke the records of the solar cycle 25, okay? Everything is connected. I've been following the Schumann Resonance for a very long time, of course, astrology as well, and the solar flares, and there is, to me, a perfect pattern that forms between major astrology and the solar flares popping off, and of course, that would just make sense. I've had a lot of people ask me my thoughts on the connection of these solar flares versus, the cell service kind of going out. And as much as I align with the fact that it is 100% possible, probable, and definitely going to happen, that when we reach some other record-breaking peaks in the solar cycles that we are about to move into over these next couple of years, no doubt in my mind that it holds the power to knock out our communication totally. But this one, not so much. there's man-made interference. And as much as I would love to say that everything that we're experiencing with the solar flares and all of this kind of stuff, as much as I would want to say that that is 100% natural and organic, I do not believe that it is. There are so many man-made interferences with natural and organic kind of spontaneous events, that you really can't trust anything at this point. And we also know that the USA is under a huge attack. If you didn't know, take a good look around. Pluto, y'all, the USA, Pluto return, people. This is the deconstruction of an empire and a civilization. And if you're not really up on that, not familiar about what that's about, then you're running out of time to wake up. The cell service, very interesting that it only affected the States. There's a reason for that. And if you take a look on social media to some of these quote unquote important people, they're cryptically dropping messages that these events are about to occur. And so this should not be a surprise to anyone. This should not be a question of, you get a whole community out there just kind of hanging off of the thread of these solar flares and being organic and the connection and the correlation and everything is magical and the portal's opening up and we're reaching new levels of consciousness and yada, 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 yada. Yeah, well, all of that, as beautiful as that may be and as true and real and raw and authentic as it may be, we also have to hold a oppositional, polarized, dualistic perspective, which is that the evildoers, the dark force entities of this world know damn well about astrology. They have it kind of pinpointed down to the actual minute of some of these important astrological transits. And if you think that they are not capitalizing on these particular events and really aligning a lot of their dark force agenda with these very pivotal shifts in energy, then you are just lying to yourself, my friend. We are in Pisces season. It's very easy to live in Delulu land, but we have to be realistic about it too. And so, just as I kind of explained to those people asking on my Patreon, I would love to think that this was a 100% natural organic event of the evolution of our consciousness and the sun and doing its whole thing. However, I don't know. My spidey senses are telling me that, again, this is a scripted event. This is man-made interference. And although, there may be some magical things popping off in the cosmos for the evolution of humanity and consciousness, the evildoers, they got this calendar, this schedule down. Like they're on lock with this. And for them not to take advantage of this little opportunity to kind of mess with and tamper with and test out what a whole communication cyber attack grid falling down knockoff would be. They are definitely using astrology and they are using these solar flares as a cover for their dark agenda as well. And we just have to be open about it. There's no point in getting mad about it because being mad and angry, of course, is just allowing ourselves to be in a vibration and a frequency that empowers the dark force agenda, which we don't want. Being fearful about it, of course, feeds the dark force entities as well. And so we just need to observe it. Like this is, again, I'm not saying that, physical life, physical realm doesn't matter. It does. But at the same time, from a soul perspective, this is just a simulation. For those of you that are very triggered by me making up words in my grammar, you're going to want to peace out now because I'm telling you, I'm probably not going to be grammatically okay or accurate with anything that I say here. A lot of that is because I'm running a fever. I'm not only living in Delulu land, but I'm living in delirium land. And Mercury just dived into Pisces energy. So words are not a thing. We're not communicating well. the amount of people that come at me for my grammar is just like, excuse me, your Virgo placements are showing. Have a fun time under this full moon in Virgo. You know, I cannot. There are just so many other things to pour energy and time into other than the construct of the human language, which essentially is just black magic spell work anyways. We should all be making up our own words so that we don't contribute to the vibration and the frequency of some of the ugly ass words here in the English language that totally stream power into the dark force entities. And so, you know, if you're like me and you really don't give an F about grammar and punctuation and pronunciation, and you as well, a creative soul, like to make up your own words and your own vocabulary, good on you. Thank you for standing with me. For those of you that it absolutely just triggers and activates to hear someone not speak correctly and use perfect pronunciation and everything of the sort, again, have fun under this full moon in Virgo. Anywho, I digress. The whole point that I'm trying to make here is that, yes, we have had an overwhelming amount of energy just pop off into our cosmos over the last 2 weeks, as we knew it would. And unfortunately, we are seeing some, man-made interference here that's just absolutely sucking the magic out of what could be a very beautiful time to have our faith restored. But at the same time, we're just here to observe. This is just a story. This is just, an experience. We need both good and bad in order for this human earth plane to continue in its existence. And so let's not get all up in our feels one way or the other about it. Let's just observe. Okay, so with that being said, yeah, there's a lot of wackadoodle things going on on the earth plane right now. And with the amount of, new energies coming in, we can expect things to get weirder. We are moving into the age of Aquarius, so we can expect weird. And again, we're in Pisces season. We're kind of nearing the halfway point of this Piscean energy. And that means that we're shifting more so out of the heaviness, the weight, the exhaustion, I'm going to say, overwhelming feeling like you're drowning in the shadow work, to a balance point where now we're going to start moving into the imaginative, creative, mystical, magical kind of energies of Pisces season. And we could all use a little bit of that. So that's going to be very good for us. But of course, we have to get through this full moon in Virgo first and foremost before we're going to feel the energy kind of dissipate and kind of take the edge off, so to speak. And because of this, we're going to have a lot of digestive issues, a lot of stomach issues, a lot of, I'm going to call them waves of anxiety or worry. Our nerves are going to be a little bit more sensitive, a little bit more stimulated than normal. And a lot of that is just because the Virgo energy, that's what it rules over. Our stomach issues, like think of when you're nervous about something, you get the bubble guts. Think about when you're worried or stressed out. The first thing that gets all clammed up on you is your guts. And so because we have all of these nerve endings in our stomach, in our digestive system, the minute that we feel some kind of way, especially with what's going on in our mental plane, and again, Mercury rules over the mental plane, Mercury rules over this full moon in Virgo, whatever it is that we're focused on is what it is that we manifest in a response of in our physical bodies. And so with this full moon in Virgo, we're going to be tapping into a lot of those Virgo issues, definitely digestion. Now, it could be, again, bubble guts, heartburn. You could be going to the bathroom a lot more frequently. This is a full moon, so if you've been on the constipated side or holding things in kind of side, this is going to be a full release of those particular energies. But nonetheless, we're all up in our headspace. We're all up in our feels. It's Pisces season. This is a time for feeling, not doing. The Virgo energy is going to show us where it is that we have to balance the energies between thinking and feeling. And that's not going to be fun for a whole chunk of people. And this is purification time. It never feels good to purify, to purge, to release, to surrender. Never feels good. It's just something that we have to do. It reassures us that we, at some point, do have to have faith and pour our trust and faith into something greater and grander that is unseen. You are very brave and courageous if you're able to hold faith, especially through times like this. And, faith is a very strong, powerful force. And I think that many of us going through this particular healing journey, we are true warriors of faith. And just having faith that we're going through this darkness in order to lead the charge into the light, that in itself is a powerful force, and it absolutely makes you stronger than if you did not have a sense of faith. And so our faith is being tested at this particular point in time. And it has been, I would say, over the last, let's say, at least 4 years since the Great Awakening. But for many of us that have been walking this path long before humanity woke up, I mean, it gets hard sometimes. Sometimes you wither in your faith. Sometimes you just don't have any energy. You don't have any F's to give. You could care less what goes on in the world. And that's okay too. That's part of the process. That's part of doing a deep dive in the shadow work in order to build yourself back up. And of course, we have a couple more weeks of this particular tension point to go before we enter into a brand new astrological year. And just a reminder, when that Aries season pops off and we get fire energy back in the cosmos, and we are reborn and resurrected and rebirthed in our soul and our spirit, and we are encouraged to take action and make moves, and we are gifted with the green light go ahead, you are going to look back on this time and be like, you know what? I was absolutely ridiculous for feeling so dark and heavy and weighted and feeling like nothing was ever going to change. And let me assure you that we always do this. This happens every year. Okay, so this is nothing new. Now, that being said, we have had some extra special astrological pop-offs that makes this Pisces season dramatically different than previous Pisces seasons. But at the same time, we are moving into the beginning of the end. And I don't say that from a fear-mongering situation, because we're in this for 1,000 years. So, I mean, as I'm coming to you live now, our physical forms aren't going to be here for the actual end. You may reincarnate a couple more times in this 1,000-year ending period. But as I come to you here now, there is this, I'm going to say, pressure that a lot of people are feeling to kind of, wrap things up and get things right. Let me just tell you that nothing is coming to an end on that great of a scale in our lifetimes. Okay, we're initiating the beginning of the end. We're initiating the collapse that needs to take place in order for essentially New Earth to be born. Now, people are going to say, what? 1,000 years before New Earth is born? No, not necessarily, but the finished, completed project, yeah, kinda. We have to understand that there are macro cycles and micro cycles going on right now, and you're a part of both, but the overwhelming pressure that your soul and your spirit feels about, needing to get things right, needing to kind of make the changes and transform and do all the things. A lot of that pressure is futuristically being put on us in the here and now, because again, we are the way showers. We are blazing the path into the future. There are going to be huge waves, huge groups, huge like-minded collectives that come after our existence here on Earth that are going to continue the journey that we are currently trying to establish. And so that doesn't mean that our lifetime isn't important. We're doing all kinds of important things right now. However, I think it's also important to zoom out a little bit and just understand that we are but a minute detail in the greater, grander thread of the cosmos, of the universe, of the fabric in which we are co-creating and we are basically weaving together. And it can feel very heavy, very weighted in Pisces season because we are aware on a macro scale of the pressure, of the weight, of the karma coming at us, applying the pressure in the here and now so that we are the trailblazers to break away from the old and really start collapsing those old structures, setting the tone for the people, for the generation, for the collectives that will follow. And so this is a very interesting time, especially having such pop-offs such as the True Node and Chiron. That was a huge, huge karmic shift for us. And then, like I said, divinely scripted shortly thereafter, Venus and Mars having their conjunction, even though it happens every 2 years, it doesn't happen under the same kind of energetic influences that we already kind of set the stage and tone for. And so this is why everything is kind of feeling pressurized and feeling that ending, feeling that closure, feeling the nervousness, the pressure to get it right now. And again, let's alleviate ourselves from some of that pressure, because that is the collective's energy of the macro scale being pushed upon us here in the micro scale, if you will. So yeah, back to the stomach issues. We definitely have, I'm going to say an element of nausea taking place. I want you to think the fact that we're out in the middle of the ocean here in Pisces season. Sometimes the waters are very calm. Sometimes they're very choppy. And we're going to get seasick. We're going to get nauseous. There is like I said earlier, we're in a washing machine. We've been tossed around. We are feeling, a little bit jaded. And this week coming, because the energy's kind of slowed down, it's going to feel like there's something wrong in this pause, in this slowing down of energy, because we have been kind of shaken and not stirred. And it takes a little bit of time, even though when we find ourselves in a pause and in a standstill, we're still kind of in our inner realm, still being jolted around in that washer machine. And so it is going to feel very confusing, and our stomachs are definitely going to be the key indicator on where it is that we're at as far as that particular sensation goes. Now, I did mention this briefly. I'm going to mention it again. I talked about it last week, didn't realize how it was going to manifest for me personally. I know I'm not the only one. But last week we talked about our sinuses being congested, being, in a state of pressure, a state of pain, if you will. I came down with some sort of sinus issue. Now, I regularly have sinus infections. This is not a sinus infection. I know that for a fact. It doesn't feel the same. So I have no choice but to blame this on the energies. And again, thinking of the mucosa in your body, which is like the thin, membrane of skin that you find in your nose and in your inner mouth and in your woo-ha and all the sensitive places in your innards. That mucosa is what responds most to the fluctuation of energies, to the barometric pressure, to the electromagnetic frequencies coming in from the solar flares popping off from the sun. And this is why many of us have a lot of sinus pressure and congestion most of the time, because that is a very sensitive little part of our meat suit. And so we feel that. That's like a temperature gauge for us. But I did say last week that we were going to have that metal taste come back in our mouths. This is the first time in a long time that metal taste for me personally manifested in the form of nosebleeds. I have had a couple of nosebleeds with the sinus pain, the sinus, I'm going to call it non-infection. I know it's not an infection, but it's still very uncomfortable. It's still very unpleasant. I've had some nosebleeds. That's not normal for me. Of course, that gross taste that it leaves in the back of your throat, that's the metal taste that I wish I could get out of my mouth at this particular point in time. And, I am running a fever. We talked about having bouts of fever-ish type of situations here last week. A lot of that is because the physical body needs to be slowed down to a snail's pace in order for the energetic body to do its thing. And so many of us in this hustle culture just do not sit down, do not relax unless we are literally taken out of the game and physically cannot do so. And many of us are falling ill right now. Whether it is actually a cold or a flu, that remains to be seen. I know that's not the case for me. I don't interact with people, so it's not germs coming into my home environment. I literally have zero human interaction, so it's not that. It could be a multitude of things. I personally tend to, understand that when the energy pops off, again, we broke records here, people. When the energy pops off in the way in which it has over this past week, our physical bodies respond in a big way. And mine this week is sinus issues, this congestion, these nosebleeds, this metal taste in my mouth. Of course, it's leaving this sore throat sensation. It's not really sore, but my lymph nodes are all swelled up. Again, when we go through the realignment, recalibration, again, we're in a purification stage, a purging stage. Our lymph nodes are our waste management cycles and systems in our body. And so, when your lymph nodes get all puffy, it's holding on to the poisons in your body that essentially have bacteria, have viruses, are going to make you sick. And so it's very important that you're doing lymphatic massage and really doing what you can to support your physical body and get some of that waste out of your physical form. But here's the thing. not only, not everybody is going to have the sinus thing or the nosebleeds or, everything that I just rattled off, but it does manifest in some form. And, we don't know how it manifests until it happens. And I'll give you an example. It's like me this week. It's like, I wonder, I got a lot of pressure in my head. Okay, well, it's not a headache. It's not a migraine per se. I can breathe through my nose. I don't, I can lean over. I don't feel the pressure in my face like I normally do with a sinus infection. But then all of a sudden, I sneeze and it's a bloodbath. And I'm sorry for being graphic, but that's what it was. And the minute that I realized what's happening, I'm like, oh shit. So this is how this is manifesting for me. Good. Again, I'm going to remind you that it's important to call these connections out, the glitches in the matrix out, the looping patterns and behaviors, the NPCs, the Ascension symptoms as they manifest. It is important to verbalize this. Literally use your words, call it out. Because that's going to change your awareness. It's going to change the programming. It's going to change the algorithm of this simulation that you find yourself in. Trust me, it works. I've had so many people message me and comment over these last couple of weeks since I've been saying, okay, you got to call it out. It's not enough in your head to say, interesting. Maybe that's it. That's not enough. You literally need to call it out. And so here I am, again, TMI, but here I am, I sneezed. I, of course, covered my face with my hands while I sneezed. And now I'm looking at my hands all covered in blood. I go run into the mirror, see that this is I don't know. It just looks way worse than it probably was. But I'm like, okay, so this is how this is going to manifest for me. I had to call it out, had to use my words. So that was a different thing for me. And like I said, I hope that, y'all feeling a lot better than I am. But at this particular point in time in Pisces season, most of us fall ill. And again, it's just to slow the physical body down for the energetic body to do its thing. We're going through a spiritual upgrade, so to speak, an energetic upgrade, an astral body upgrade. This is what Pisces season is all about. And so that may mean that many of us, physically speaking, do not feel good, do not feel well. So on top of, all of the things that I just rattled off, I have this sporadic cough, that comes out of nowheres and literally feels like I'm not going to be able to recover from this. I'm not going to be able to breathe again. I'm not going to be able to catch my breath before I pass out from this coughing fit that came out of nowheres. Now, a lot of this is heart activation. A lot of this is because we are literally choking right now. Again, visualize yourself in Pisces season, out in the middle of the ocean. You've been treading water for a while. The waves are picking up. Some of them are crashing upon you. Your head dips below the surface of the water. You come out, you spit the water out. You're choking on the water. You're having a hard time breathing. This is all directly related to being in a water season. And speaking of water season, things are going to get leaky this week. What do I mean leaky? Okay, well, let's talk about all the different ways that leaky could manifest. First of all, let's talk about the physical form. Maybe your eyes are leaking. Maybe your eyes are overly watery. Maybe there's just constant stream of tears. Our eyes, considering the fact that we are out in the middle of the ocean and we're trying to keep our head above water, our eyes are starting to burn and kind of, reach that redness point because there's a lot of water getting into our eyes right now. And we have blurry vision. You know what it's like to try and, look underwater. It doesn't, there's a vagueness there. You can kind of see dark shapes, but, the accuracy of being able to pluck out details right now, not going to happen. Especially with Mercury now in Pisces energy, we're as vague as we could be. We can kind of understand what's going on, but we couldn't put it into words. We can kind of say what it is that we need to say, but it's not clear. It's not well received. We can kind of see a vision for the future, but we don't know how to describe it. And so that is likely going to continue. Now, maybe it's not tears. Maybe you have a leaky faucet. Maybe there's going to be a just straight stream of snot coming out of your nose. I know that sounds gross, but guess what? Humans are gross. So, it is what it is. Maybe the leakiness is that you're drooling. Maybe you're drooling while you're talking. Maybe you're drooling in your sleep. Maybe you're choking on your words and therefore, you're drooling because you're trying to kind of catch your breath. Maybe the leakiness is sweat. We're all kind of going through this purge, this purification. What happens when you're going through a purification is that you got to sweat it out. Again, another reason why we got to keep our lymph node system kind of up on par, if you will, because the sweat is a purging, especially in the dream state. The dream state has been wackadoodle. It always is with Pisces season. There are, I'm going to say, extra dimensions of the dimensions that we're used to going into in a dream state that are now opening up for us. What I will also say is that water signs, earth signs, probably sleeping very, very well, which is a nice change if I do say so myself. Fire and air placements, likely not getting enough sleep at this time. Again, we'll kind of, tag team, switch it out with each other. Y'all will recover. Y'all get your sleep. But right now it's water time and earth time for sleeping. And the other kind of dimensions that are opening up for us in our daydream state and in our sleeping dream state, not only very active, not only are we sweating, not only is there a high potency of energy and emotion in our dream state, but that translates into our physical body. So we're having cold sweats while we sleep. We're waking up in the middle of the night just drenched in sweat, having to go to the bathroom. Maybe you're leaky in that area of your body. Outside of the body, though, the leakiness, maybe you're going to have, plumbing issues. And no joke, okay? When we're in a water sign, there are water issues. Maybe your dishwasher pops off, maybe your toilet's back up. Maybe you busted a pipe somewhere. There's a leakiness. Maybe in your car, there's an oil leak or a gas leak. There is going to be some kind of leaking, and it's going to manifest in different ways. Let's talk about information. There's going to be major information leaked. Major. Going to change the game. We've been waiting for this. You shouldn't be surprised. You are going to have to act as the observer because it isn't going to be delivered in its truth. It isn't going to be delivered in its realest, rawest form. It is going to be packaged in a way to get everybody all in an uproar, because that's the whole point of trying to create a civil war here amongst the people, especially in the US, let alone on the global stage. This is their MO. Do not fall into it. Do not let it happen to you. But the leaking can come in all ways and all forms. Doesn't necessarily have to be in the physical body, but let me tell you and let me advise you that when you observe something this week that does fit into the leaky category, call it out loud with your words, even if you look cray to other people, doesn't matter. Okay, they're not up on, calling out the algorithm of your individual simulation here. So you got to call this shit out. So look out for the leakiness. Okay, back to the physical body for a second. Many of us having lower back pain. Now, we talked about this. Anytime we're going through a recalibration or realignment, the programming, the conditioning of our ego avatar goes through a revamp. It's almost like a computer system. We are an operating system. Right now, we're defragging the old operating system. We are getting rid of as many files as we could possibly get rid of in order for us to download the new operating system that, of course, we will be doing once we enter into the new astrological calendar. But right now, we're kind of going through all of our files. We're removing the things that we haven't used in a long time. We're removing the data packets that we don't need to hold on to in order for the current system to continue running. There is this whole lightening of the load going on. So anytime that we are essentially rewriting the programming, the conditioning of our physical body, our ego avatar, there is lower back pain, there's sciatica. There are muscle spasms, muscle tremors. There is, I'm going to call them sea legs, but technically speaking, your legs are falling asleep. You have pins and needles in your legs. There's temperature fluctuations in your legs. There you go with the grammar again. I know I didn't pronounce that correctly. Don't care, not going to correct it. Moving on. There are cold feet symptoms. There are surges of energy coming in from the crown that needs to go through your whole body in order to enter into the earth and vice versa. And right now, there is a huge blockage in our lower backs where the programming conditioning being claimed to collapse, being rewritten, so to speak. There is a huge amount of pressure in the lower back in our lower extremities as well. We're also having very intense, sporadic shoulder blade pain. Now, again, a lot of this is kind of connected to the heart activations, a lot of the unpacking of the past, of the old that we're no longer willing to kind of carry in our backpack as we're about to set forth on this new quest, this new adventure. And so the shoulder blade pain, yes, in conjunction with the heart activations, yes, in conjunction with the coughing spells, yes, in conjunction with the relubrication process that goes on in our spinal column as we enter into new karmic chapters. Again, the realignment, the recalibration. It's all a taking out of the old system and a rebuilding of the new. And I often use the car analogy. You know, we're in for an oil change, a tune-up. We're looking to change the spark plugs. We're looking to change, the brake pads. We're looking to do all of the finer detail stuff. Again, full moon Virgo. We're really taking a good look at the finer details of the structure that we need to have operating in its best form, because we are a vessel, we are a vehicle for our soul, for our spirit. We really need to strengthen the vehicle for this next leg of our journey, if you will. And so we got a lot going on in our back, because again, the back, the vertebrae, the discs in our spine, that is Jacob's ladder. That is how the energy kind of moves through our physical form as the spiritual lubrication process happens in order to reach the base of our neck type of thing, in order for those chemical reactions to take place in our brains that activate all of those lovely chemicals that create another level of our awareness, of our consciousness, and then the cycle begins again. So thus why we're having the pressurized system, especially in the lower back. So we're in a water season. We are taking on water weight. Did you notice that you wake up and your hands are all swollen, your fingers are all swollen, you're all puffy in the face? Feels like you're gaining weight, but you're not really gaining weight, but it feels like you're like the Marshmallow Man, the Stay Puft guy in the Ghostbusters movie. Like everything is just puffy. And a lot of that is because we are in a water season. And typically speaking, that's why after water seasons, we move into fire seasons, because the fire energy will not only dry us off, but it will help evaporate a lot of the water that we're taking on through a water season. We did talk about how, the eyes are kind of blurry and they're kind of burning because we're looking underwater and all of these lovely things. But yet, in a complete contradiction of having watery eyes and, tears flowing and blurriness and everything of the sort, those damn eye crusties are coming back full force, and they are big. Like, they are not just a little crumble of sleep in the corner of your eye. Like, it feels like a whole freaking salt cube is stuck in your eyeball. And again, that's just the purging out. That's the purification process. Like, our eyes are changing, our vision are changing, perspective is changing, our understanding is changing, our options are changing, and we have to kind of get the gunk out of our eyes from the old view, the old version, the old vision, the old goal, the old dream, the old self. We have to remove that gunk in order for our eyes to be operating optimally. And so we are definitely going to feel those eye crusties. I want you to pay attention to how your skin is changing, though. Your oils are changing in your hair. Your nail beds are changing. I know we have this issue trying to activate these palm chakras where we're having, broken nails, hang nails, injury to the fingers. The puffy fingers doesn't really help things along. But the overall, we do this through a recalibration or realignment. This is nothing new, but the oils of our bodies change. So if you're typically speaking somebody who operates on the oilier side of life, you will be drier, and vice versa. If you're on the dry side of life, you will become oilier as well, or more oily for those that prefer, that type of sentence construct. And yes, I'm salty about it. I'm salty about, you're probably wondering, like, what is she going on about? All these people trying to correct her grammar. They always come in threes. I 100% recognize them as the dark force entities just trying to kind of stick to their old ego programming. I get it. But yeah, I do get salty about it. Trust me, I have a very strong Virgo placement, and I was very particular about grammar once upon a time. But when you kind of awaken and you realize that it's just a waste of time and energy, and you're literally just trying to, keep hold of the old spell work construct that the English language actually is, you're really not going to care about grammar and pronunciation, punctuation as much as you once did. I know I didn't. There are just so many other things to give your energy to. That's not something that I'm going to devote a whole lot of time and energy to, but I will devote enough time and energy to definitely giving my clap back. So this is it. This is why I keep jabbing. Anywho, the recalibration, the realignment, the relubrication of our physical body system, it is like an oil change. And that's why the oils in our bodies change, in our hair, in our skin, in our nail beds. The overall, moisture content, even though we are kind of submerged in the ocean in Pisces season, we're running dry. Okay. I know it doesn't make sense. It's a little bit of an oxymoronic thing to say, but it is a thing and you should pay attention to it. I did talk about the dream state a little bit, but let me just also say, I want you to pay attention to your animals. I'm gonna now kind of shift away from the physical body, because we spend a lot of time talking about the Ascension symptoms in the physical body. And I know that's important to cover because, we have a lot of people that are very, very much not understanding the physical repercussions of these energetic shifts and find themselves sitting in an emergency room with actual sick people for hours, mind you, to see a doctor for everything to come back normal and everything to come back okay. And then they're left in a state of feeling like they're crazy because they know damn well in their physical body something's off, something's wrong, something doesn't feel right. But, the medical, let me not even get started about the medical system. Not only are they not equipped to actually handle physical medical health care, but they're sure as hell not capable enough to take an integrative and holistic approach to what's going on to us as human beings through this evolutionary process of not only our energetic and spiritual form, but our physical form as well. So I am going to step away for just a minute because there are other indications of this ascension process that have nothing to do with our physical bodies, as important as our physical bodies are, and staying ahead of the game and doing what we can to help the physical body kind of, flush out these energies and realign with the energies so that it's not as painful and uncomfortable as sometimes it can be. But there are a lot of odor aspects, external aspects that we can tell that we are going through a major shift as well. So I wanted to kind of talk about them for a second. First of all, pay attention to your animals. Animals and young children, and I'm going to say young children, especially under the age of 7 specifically, they are our energetic barometers, so to speak. And you can definitely tell by, your own pets, wildlife out in the world. You can tell something's up. You can tell something's off. You can tell that they know that something's going on that they might not fully understand, but they're having a very reactive behavior to the fluctuations of the energy that's going on in the energetic grid that basically, comforts the earth, if you will. So animals will be your first indicator. I want you to also pay attention outside that there are little bugs, little critters, even, animals that are appearing that really technically should not appear for another, I'm going to say approximately 3 weeks. There are bugs. Like, I'm in Canada. Yes, things are warming up slightly, but it's still snow and ice covered out there. And I went out the other day with my dogs to have a little bit of fun in that, sheet of ice out there that I call my backyard. And there were mosquitoes. And that ain't right. Now, I know Mr. Bill, he's got a whole mosquito type of strategy going on. I don't know if those are Bill's mosquitoes or not, but I know for a fact we should not be seeing mosquitoes here in the end of February while there's still snow, there's still ice out there. I've noticed the return of a lot of the birds that we should not be seeing and hearing. I swear to God, I heard a cheeseburger bird the other day, and I was like, no, chickadee, you need to go somewhere for a couple weeks and sit this out, because you're gonna have a hard time if you stick around here for too long. The woodpeckers are out full force, which to me is a true indicator that things are just melting and kind of warming up in a time frame that they technically shouldn't be at this particular time. But even people that don't live in places like Canada where there is a direct winter with snow and ice and all of those things, and, you know, where you have a little bit more milder type of seasonal changes, if you will, y'all have even told me that you guys are seeing some weird stuff in the environment in which you've grown up in your whole life, especially where wildlife and bugs are concerned. It's the bugs that get me. It's the bugs that get me. Okay, so not even like a week and a half ago, full snow, full ice coverage, can't see green or Mother Earth out there. And a caterpillar came out of nowhere, was literally in the middle of my backyard. Like, where did you come from? You know, first of all. Secondly, like, where are you going? Okay. And I have these conversations straight up with these caterpillars because I'm cray like that. Didn't get a whole lot of information from the guy. And only a couple of hours later, when I went out to kind of check on him, not only did he not make very good time trying to get, you know, from where he was at to where it is that he was trying to go, but guy died. Guy froze right into the earth that he was, you know, walking upon. You know, no surprise because, hello, it's frozen out there. Like, why are you even here? But like, legit, where did you come from? Anyways, I digress. What I'm trying to get at here is just pay attention to the bugs, to the insects, to the birds, to the animals, to your own animals, to your kids. Like, pay attention to what is going on, because these little, you know, pure innocent beings, they have a much better guide to the energy shifts than we do. Even more than that, I want to talk about now, I know this is kind of like, you know, beginner level shit here. Probably shouldn't have said that word. My YouTube channel penalized me for that too. But, you know, repeating numbers. Now, people want to say that they're angel numbers. People want to say numerology. People want to say, you know, your spirit guides, yada, yada, yada. It doesn't matter. What it is coding. I don't care where you think the coding is coming from. It's coding. This is all patterns and behaviors. This is all a binary system that makes up this whole earth plane. And so when you pay attention to repetitive numbers, doesn't matter what you want to label them as, bottom line, they are a coding system. Now, the 22nd was when Venus and Mars had their conjunction. The 21st, I noticed that people were losing their damn minds, emotional outbursts like you wouldn't believe. Relationship dynamics popped off in a big way. We had a huge amount of people that decided to pass over on the 21st. A lot of things went down on the 21st, and I think that's a very interesting dynamic to kind of examine and analyze because, again, we were closing out Venus and Mars' last chapter, and we were preparing to open up a new one and still very much riding off the coattails of that True Node and Chiron aspect that popped off earlier in the week. On the 21st, I had a whole day of coding, meaning every time I looked at the clock, it was a number that was highly significant. And let me also remind you, you don't need repetitive numbers in order for that to be significant. If you ever look at the clock and it's 12:34, 1, 2, 3, 4, that means you got to get back to the basics. Start small. Start with what it is that your bare basics are and take baby steps in the right direction. When you are kind of experiencing numbers that aren't repetitive, as in 1, because everybody looks at the clock and it's 1:11 or 11:11, that's kind of overplayed. 444, that's been a regular one for a lot of my clients as of late, and a lot of that is because the fours are asking for you to stabilize, for you to double down on what it is that you've already built, already created, and make sure that that foundation is strong enough before you go on and start adding things to your life or jumping into something new. But not only were all the clocks significant, I had a couple of packages arrive. They all had specific coding sequences, and again, doesn't necessarily have to be repetitive numbers. I'll give you an example. For example, my bank account balance, that number was the exact number that showed up on one of my Amazon packages. Okay? That's weird, right? I call that out. I'm like, that's weird, right? Again, you know, the clock thing, that's kind of outplayed. I was flipping through old books. A receipt fell out. That matched not only my bank account, but it also matched my Amazon package tracking number that showed up. So that was weird for me. Just a lot of weirdness, I would say, that happened on the 21st for me specifically. And why I'm sharing this is because when we are going through a very great energetic transition, you will receive coding. Now, whether you can pick up on that or not, whether you can be aware of that or not, whether you recognize that pattern or not, that's up to you. That's just being aware and understanding that you have these little hints and clues, these coding sequences thrown at you pretty much all the time. Whether you can pick up on that or not, that's up to you. But the numbers were big for me on the 21st. They absolutely stopped coming the 22nd. But that to me was highly significant that we are going through a major shift here. And then we had that Venus and Mars conjunction. We had those solar flares popped off. We broke a record there. And again, you can feel it in your body, right? Like you can feel the shift in your body. You don't have to be connected to social media. You don't need to be connected to the Schumann Resonance. You don't even need to be connected to knowing what astrology aspects are popping off. If you just sit with yourself and you are strong in your, I'm going to say, abilities to just close the world off and listen to your body, listen to your higher self, listen to your intuition, you are the barometric, let's call it, meter of the energetic world. And you can definitely be picking up on things without people validating for you that, yeah, that's what you're going through, that's what you felt. So a couple of other things that I would like you to pay attention to out in your external realm as just indicators that we've moved into a different time period, let's say. We know that the sun has been wackadoodle. We know that the moon is kind of a wackadoodle as well. The moon is changing colors. Don't know if you realize that. Maybe under this full moon, hopefully you'll have a clear sky to actually view the full moon. Pay attention to the coloring of the moon. They're up there, the programmers, they're adding some wackadoodle filters on top of that moon here as of late. And that is a key indicator that we're going through something. I want you to pay attention to looping patterns and behaviors, not coming from you necessarily, although that would be a very important part of self-awareness, but looping behaviors as far as other people go. So I will give you an example. I have a neighbor, beautiful friend, older guy, very, not into this stuff, but very wise to the world type of thing. And I know a lot of older people get a bad rap for repeating themselves. And a lot of people will say, well, they don't have a whole lot of people to talk to. They don't remember who they talk to. They just tell the same old stories all the time. To a certain extent, there's a little bit of truth to that. But also, they are true indicators of the programs that are collapsing. And I had this beautiful neighbor of mine come over to give me some lovely canned goods. He is definitely somebody that lives off the land. He's doing it right. He's a prepper. He's got more than him and his wife can ever really, consume. So lucky for me, I get a lot of those canned good treats. And so he brought me over canned goods as he normally does. And legit had the exact same conversation that he had the last time that he was over. And that was only a couple of weeks ago. And it wasn't even a light type of conversation. It was a very specific conversation and of an event that he himself just said that he was experiencing like 2 or 3 days ago, even though he told me about this exact event like a couple of weeks ago, the last time he was over. So to me, it's the programming through, I'm not going to call them NPCs because I think that's rude. I also don't think that they're sleepers. I think that's rude. I just think that they are more anchored into their ego body programming than some of us are. And there's nothing wrong with that. We need all kinds of people to make the world go round. But I noticed halfway that we were having this exact same conversation. So I started kind of messing with him a little bit and asking him questions when he was trying to tell the same story that I've already heard that didn't even happen 3 weeks ago, but obviously happened to him in his life this week that I knew 3 weeks ago. So again, looping patterns and behaviors. I was basically trying to catch him up. And he started glitching out, like literally like eye spasms, tick, like head to shoulder tick. Then all of a sudden he just walked away. And I said to him, well, thank you so much, for coming over for the visit, for the goodies. Like, sorry to see you leave so quick. And he just turned around and mechanically waved and then just kept on walking. And I thought to myself, okay, That is a very, very strong looping pattern and behavior. Now, it's not every time with the interaction with this gentleman that it happens like that. But the fact that he came over, and this was on the 21st as well, with a lot of coding, a lot of programming, a lot of those numbers coming at me, a lot of the patterns and behaviors being recognized, he came over specifically on that day and he gave me the same story that he gave me 3 weeks ago, even though he said it just happened to him this week. And again, when you recognize some of these programs playing in other people in your external realm and you're aware of it, start messing with them. It's not mean, it's not cruel. You're not setting out to hurt them. You're just trying to interrupt the program. And when you recognize that you can't interrupt the program, that they either continue talking through you or they absolutely just end up going back to the exact same point in which you interrupted them at, or they get so frustrated, not even frustrated. He wasn't in a state of frustration with me asking questions or interrupting him or, commenting or anything like that. It was just, I was interrupting the program. And so it was almost like in his brain, it said, okay, abort mission. And he just, in mid-conversation, just walked away. So pay attention to that, because the old programming is doubling down. They have nothing new to add. We've seen it all. We've heard it all. And so the programming, especially when it becomes that evident, like that in your face, that's how you can tell that, you're making huge leaps and bounds here, moving into the next level of awareness, the next level of consciousness as well. So just pay attention to some of the things that are just random as F, that make absolutely no sense, that cannot be explained, that come at you in a way that you're just like, oh, good effort. Like, good effort on the programmer side, but I see you and I'm calling it out as it happens, because that just somehow changes the program just a tad in order for it to be kind of new, different, and fun. So guys, my voice is about to give out on me. I'm going to head back to the couch to curl up and let this particular energy pass through me in whichever way it needs to do. And let me just also say that I've already put all of the holistic things in my body to help my physical form. I've already done my meditation, already done my little dance in the kitchen. I'm moving the energy, moving the, let's call it energy blockages in me. So it's, I always say, well, you can't just sleep on the couch. You can't just lay on the couch and ride it through. Well, guess what? We're in Pisces season. So get up, do a little dance, shake it out, raise your vibration, stay aware of it all, but also give your body a break. Give it a rest. We're in a time of feeling, not in a time of doing. And I know that that's hard, being in the hustle culture that we're all in, but you got to listen to your body. And right now, my body is saying, shut up and go lay down. So I want to thank you so much for tuning in. I want to thank you for the love, for the support. Thank you for showing up in the chat if you're here Friday evening with me live. If you're not, I thank you for tuning in, catching the replay. Please drop me a little emoji in the comment section below to leave your mark on this community. You're important. You need to be seen. You need to be heard. Even those of you that would prefer to kind of live behind the curtain, I know you're there. I can feel you. I thank you for showing up, not only for me, but for yourself. I send you so much love, and we'll talk to you soon.